Hello everyone, here is Geraldinho Lemos from Belo Horizonte, Brazil at Portal Saber Espiritismo. We are here, Marco Gandra and I, and we are going to record the program to Know Spiritism number 26. We are live for Kardec Radio in Virginia, USA, and also in Florida for the Discovery Spiritism Network and also for Spiritism dissemination. As you know, in the last programs, we studied the views of the Spiritist doctrine, the Spiritist revelation views of prophecies and mediumship. Today, we are going to start a series of 3 programs on the warnings that Chico Xavier and the Spirit of Emmanuel wrote to us about the future. The program today are going to focus on this book, A Caminho da Luz. In English, it is On the Way to the Light. You can see the first one of those 2 editions in Portuguese, A Caminho da Luz, and the edition in English in the US, On the Way to the Light. And we can see in this book, chapter 25, that Emmanuel told us, the times have come when the forces of evil will be forced to abandon their remaining positions of dominance in the terrestrial environment. Their last triumph are the sign of a fearful and unhappy reaction which try to spread the shadows that go over their perishing empire. In this chapter 25, Emmanuel states a very serious warning on humanity as a whole, because he is predicting very hard times ahead. Of course, this book was written in 1937, published in 1938, and it was before the World War II. As we all know, the World War II began when Germany invaded Poland and Austria in August 1939. And Emmanuel is kind of making a prophecy around the next years. But we are going to reason about that also. We are going to see in the next 2 programs that the warnings that Emmanuel stated was not only towards the World War II, the Second World War that happened between 1939 and 1945. But no doubt the times had come when the forces of evil would be forced to abandon their remaining positions of dominance, he states, in our terrestrial earthly environment. And all those triumphs of evil would be the sign of an unsuccessful, unhappy reaction to spread the shadows that go over their perishing empire. Emmanuel is stating that the evil forces were that time and still are these days, nowadays, that they have a perishing empire. And he goes on stating that dictators, economic hegemony, versatile and unconscious masses, unglory wars, secular organizations will pass with the vertigo of a nightmare. The victory of the force is the clarity of fireworks. All reality is the spirit, and all peace is the understanding of the kingdom of God and his justice. He is also predicting the fall of every dictator or dictatorships here on earth, and also the fall of all economic hegemony, and also the shake of all versatile and unconscious masses. Also the stop on all unglory wars, and also that all secular organizations would be in check, and they will pass with the vertical of a nightmare. He completes his statement going on, telling us the shepherd's crook will lead the ordeal in the sorrowful task of choosing the ship. Suffering will take over the work that humankind did not accept through love. A tempest of woes will sweep the earth. The children of Jerusalem of all centuries will weep as they contemplate the rain of tears and blood that will burst forth from heavy clouds of their darkened conscience. We see here in the first sentence that Emmanuel is predicting that the time of harvest have come. The harvest that the shepherd's crook lead the ordeal in the sorrowful task of choosing the ship. As we all know, that was predicted by Jesus Christ himself and his words to his disciples, and we have it nowadays in the gospel. And in a way, Emmanuel is telling us that the suffering will take the job, the work that humankind did not accept through love. It would be more likely that we as a collective soul had accepted Jesus' words and orientations to us, and that we should be going to the pathway to light by our own doings, by our own choice, but we did not have this choice in 20 centuries, so that he is in a way warning us again that we would be in the way of suffering, that the pain would do the work that we did not accept by love, through love. And of course the pain would come in a tempest, like he says, a tempest of woes that will sweep all earth, and all the children of Jerusalem of all times will weep as they contemplate the rain of tears and blood that will burst forth from heavy clouds of their darkened consciences. It's just the law, the divine law, action and reaction, as Jesus himself told us. Everyone will harvest according with the plantation. So no, uh, no surprise here. Here is a very interesting statement that Emmanuel himself tells us about Europe and the Americas. As you can see, he wrote, condemned to irreversible sentences for its social and political crimes, European dominance will disappear forever like the Roman Empire, handing over to the Americas the fruit of its experiences regarding the civilization of the future. The earth is now entering into a twilight that will give way to a deep, dark night. The 20th century will see the outcome of these frightening events. As I told you, he wrote that in 1937, and he predicted that Europe dominance would cease and would give away all its power to the Americas. And in a sense, it has been happening, the handover of the European dominance to the Americas. We can see that in the 20th century, many countries flourished and grew economically, politically, and even in a way of geopolitical dominance, like the United States of America, like Canada, like Brazil, like Mexico, and other countries around Latin America and North America, playing a larger role in human organization, in human society. But I think Emmanuel here is giving us a glimpse of the future, where all the Americas, North, Central, and South America, would have a most important role in human society of the regenerated times. At that time, we know it was before the Second World War, and he is stating that the human society was entering the night, the deep dark night. So as a comparison, we can understand that at that time it was like 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. in the clock of evolution. And we know for sure that now in 2020, 2019, 2020, we already are at the first hour of the dawn of a new era. So all those dark night hours between 6 p.m. until midnight, thank God we already passed it. And we are now entering a new day. And so Emmanuel told us that the 20th century would see those hours of dark night, dark hours, the deep dark night. And as a matter of fact, we are already entering the second fifth of the 21st century. So we must know for sure that those dark hours have already passed. And Emmanuel completes his thought. Yes, because after the dark, a new dawn will arise. Consoling lights will involve the entire orb regenerated in the baptism of suffering. We believe strongly that 2019 was the end of the dark night, the dark hours of the night, uh, the especially after the 50 years period that Chico Xavier told us that would be a very important task to all humanity to not embrace the Third World War, not go to a worldly conflict, a nuclear conflict, and we have passed that already, thank God, after July 2019, and we can now uh, understand that the spirits were predicting that after those hours, those dark hours, a new dawn would arise, and there's no doubt that we are going to be right now in 2020 in this first hour of the new dawn, the new day that is arriving, that is arising. It's not a clear day yet because it's not 6 a.m. in the evolution clock, but we can see that we are between midnight and 1 a.m. and probably around 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. we will see the sun arising in the horizon for the regenerated time for us. And this is the time that we must share and that we must feel in our hearts that the consoling lights will for sure involve the entire orb, the entire earth regenerated after the baptism of suffering. And we must thank God for that. What will be the characteristics of this dawn, the hours between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m.? Emmanuel himself told us the spiritual human being will be melded with the physical one for the glorious march towards the unlimited. We have all been called to the grand endeavor, and our most sublime duty is to respond to the call of the chosen one. So this will be the time, the years to come from now on, 2020 until 2057, the year that Chico Xavier and Emmanuel predicted at the program at TV Tupi in São Paulo in 1971, the program Pinga Fogo com Chico Xavier. They predicted that Earth would be a regenerated planet in the year, around the year 2057. So we are talking about the next 37 years because we are in 2020 and plus 37 years is 2057. And what would be nowadays our task? Our task is to embrace the spiritual human being, that we all will understand that we are not a material being, but a spiritual being having a material experience. And we must respond to the call of Jesus, the chosen one. This is our most sublime duty, as Emmanuel wrote. And he completes his message at chapter 25 on the way of light by Chico Xavier, writing, "In looking back on the scene of the world history, we feel a cold shiver at the sight of this dolorous twilight of Western civilizations. The ninth time will not be long in coming, and in the belly of its deep darkness, let us not forget Jesus, whose infinite mercy will be, as always, the immortal light of the future dawn of peace, fraternity, and redemption." So, in this part, he's also saying the same thing. It was before the Second World War. He was predicting the deep darkness hours for humankind in the 20th century. But after that, he is stating, let us not forget Jesus. Let us not forget the infinite mercy that Jesus have on us. And as always, let us not forget that the immortal light of the future of regeneration, would come as a dawn of peace, fraternity, and redemption. And thank God, in 2020, we can feel that we are already in this dawn, the dawn of peace, fraternity, and redemption. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you be with us next week also. We will study next week one chapter of the book 2000 years ago. See you then. Bye-bye.